it was all squandered. So we went from a balanced budget and a surplus to the biggest deficits we've ever had. And in just 8 years, George Bush and the Washington Republicans have doubled our national debt. Now, Democrats have gotten used to cleaning up the messes left. We've done it before. We will do it again. It took a Democratic president to clean up after the first President Bush, and it's going to take a Democratic America will rise again under President Obama from the ashes of the Bushes if you give us a chance. Now, for 2 years on the campaign trail and for my entire adult life, I have been fighting for people who are left out, families who are working as hard as they can and seeming not to get ahead. Children who get dealt the short straw in life. Women who are still denied equal pay for equal work and their rights under our laws. I've been fighting for social and economic justice and for every child to have a chance to live up to his or her God-given potential. And that's who I'm fighting for today. So as I travel across the country on behalf of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, I hear people talking about this campaign, and they often ask each other, well, who are you for? But that's not quite the right question. The better question is, who is for you? Who is for your job, your health care, your future, for your family? And there just isn't any doubt. Barack Obama is the one who has proposed a $1,000 tax cut for hard-working families, $500 for an individual. 95% of all Americans receiving a paycheck would be eligible. It's Barack Obama who has proposed eliminating federal income taxes for seniors earning less than $50,000. And Barack Obama will add the tax rate for the oil companies and the drug companies. Invest in new jobs in clean energy and manufacturing and infrastructure right here in Missouri. We have a slogan for this campaign, which I like a whole lot more than the Republican slogan. It's jobs, baby, jobs. On the south lawn of the White House as President Obama signs into law quality, affordable health care. Barack Obama and Joe Biden are for you, and that's why I'm for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Now, I know that with us today are people who supported me during the primary, and I will never forget the vote of confidence that your support represented. But I'm here today to ask you to please support Barack Obama. If you supported me, then you have much more in common with Barack and Joe than you do with the McCain-Palin ticket. This election is so important. It truly is a fight for the future. And it's a future we must win. Because after 8 years of failed leadership, there is so much to do. You know, it's going to be hard. I'm not here to paint you a rosy scenario. It to tell you, oh, elect Barack and Joe and Democrats, and, you know, there'll be rainbows in the sky. That would be nice.
Looks that way on my blog.
But there's a lot of tough days ahead, my friends. You know, this economic crisis is still playing itself out. We have all sorts of difficult issues waiting for the next president. But I want you to think about the America that you love. You know, Gary alluded to it. You know, I was raised to believe that there wasn't anything America couldn't do once we made up our minds to do it. And I believe that with all my heart. But it takes a unique partnership. It always has in America. It takes a partnership between our leaders and the rest of us. Because leaders can't do anything if nobody's following. And it's tough for citizens to do much on a broad basis if we don't have leaders who help us get to where we're trying to go. And what's always been special about America is this partnership. And think back about times when we faced really hard choices. You know, Franklin Roosevelt, in the midst of the Great Depression, with storm clouds gathering for World War II, you know, told us all we had to fear was fear itself. And reminded us that America has a rendezvous with destiny. That didn't make the Depression go away. But you talk to my parents or your grandparents, and you know that it gave people the resolve and the hope that it was going to get better. Think about your great fellow citizen, Harry Truman, when he came into office after Franklin Roosevelt died. You know, some historians have said that not since Harry Truman will the next president face so many hard decisions. He had to end World War II. Then he had to pivot around and deal with Soviet expansionism and the Cold War. He had to get the economy working again and give people the feeling that they would be back on track in their lives. But he never faltered. He knew it had to be done. And he put a big sign up on his desk in the Oval Office, "The buck stops here." Wouldn't it have been nice if George Bush once during his presidency had said the buck stopped with him on anything? I'll even drag on a Republican. You know, President Eisenhower, you know, greeted the Cold War threat with unrivaled investments in science and mathematics and research, and came up with the idea of the interstate highway system, which was a huge investment in infrastructure which put millions of Americans to work and connected up our country. It was unprecedented, and then he ended with a warning about the military-industrial complex. And Jack Kennedy set our sights on the moon and said we would get there within a decade. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I never doubted once we made up our minds to do it, we would get there. And, you know, St. Charles has a special place in our history, too. It was here that Lewis and Clark led a 2-year expedition to reach the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
That's the American spirit. They didn't know what lay ahead. They couldn't have predicted what adventures and troubles they would encounter, but they were determined to seek that new frontier, to look toward a new expanded horizon. That's who we are as a nation. We're doers and dreamers. We're builders and innovators. We're entrepreneurs and adventurers. And yes, the times are tough. But we are tougher than the times. And I know